So, I wanted to talk a bit about a manifestation technique which I used to get to where I am now from being at my heaviest and my most depressed, self conscious, unhappy version of myself. So, I knew I had to make some changes and I didn't know where to start. And I got those feelings of overwhelm and like, what do I even do to be able to um, start making progress? I mean, the obvious things is, eat less, eat healthier, exercise more. So the embodied manifestation technique is where you envision your kind of highest self, your future self, the person that if you could be anybody and it has to be like the best version of you in this lifetime, who would that be? Envision that person. So the way they look, the way they behave, the way they talk, the way they walk, and then go on to embody that person in the present. Even though you're not there yet, you become that person in your mind and embody the behaviors of that person in the present. So I wrote a list of things down that describes the type of person who I want to become. And even though it seemed so far fetched and so far from where I was in the present moment, I picked a couple of things that I felt like I could do to embody that version of Rose. Um, and so I picked eating whole foods and running 4 times a week. So I consistently embodied those behaviors. And every time I was eating a meal or I was getting ready to go for a run, I would just picture that version of me in my head. This is me living as her now. Basically, now, who I am now, like the version of me now, is the one that I had in my head the whole time doing this. And I thought, I don't know if this works. I've never done this before. So I just gave it a go. And I just stuck with it because obviously you can't manifest unless you continuously work towards something. So I had to be consistent and I had to stick to it. So those two things for me were something that I felt like was doable in the present moment. And then I would add on to things um, over the course of time that I felt like, okay, I now feel confident to add on something. So then it became like going to the gym as well. So I added on going to the gym, getting a personal trainer, and then even more fine tuning like my nutrition and even just things like the way I present myself, the way I dress, the way I talk to myself, um, all of these kinds of things. Then I started to kind of integrate into my life as though I was her. So whenever I caught myself being my old self, like, oh, you look fat or you look disgusting, when I'm looking in the mirror, I think, well, that future version of me would not be saying those things to herself. She's confident, she knows who she is, she feels good, she feels healthy, she feels fit. Look at yourself and tell yourself, I am healthy, I am fit, I am confident. And eventually you start becoming that person. So this technique, embodied manifestation, um, or act as if, is the kind of the foundation of the transformation for me, and it really just it gave me that kind of framework to work with in terms of how to make steps forwards, how to make the right steps forwards. And because the end goal is so intimidating and so like far away, you have to then rein it in and focus on the now and focus on the steps that you can do in the present moment, but with that future self in mind and acting as though you're already that person. um you tell yourself, I know that I'm going to be that person, so I'm going to act like them now so that I get there sooner. And that kind of keeps you going, because the journey is difficult. You're putting in all this hard work, and you've got a long way to go. So when you start seeing yourself transform and you start realizing, yes, I am becoming that person, it just gives you that momentum to keep pushing forwards and pushing forwards.